And we're off. Game 3. Game 3, we have Cloud9 opting for red side, right? And this is one of the techniques we were talking about. Just change it. Change the script. If they think you're going to be blue and they're creating a plan for how they're going to win on red, maybe you can catch them a little bit by surprise by choosing red, right? You want to have a plan available. What we do end up getting out of this draft is M&S landing on LeBlanc, who is as strong as she's been in many patches. Has been banned away from this player in multiple instances. So I'm eager to see what LeBlanc can get it done in this game. Now we see a classic pairing of Lee Sin and LeBlanc. Getting basically the most threat out of these champions, right? Super high threat, super early game dominant champions that can play off of each other's strengths. We're going to see an inside out game from Cloud9. They're going to play to the LeBlanc and then push it into the side lanes. Love the composition that they've created for themselves, right? LeBlanc being the alpha in the mid lane with Lee Sin being the alpha in the jungle and saying, hey, we can take this and move it into other positions like a bot side where we've got a fantastic lane for ourselves with the Thresh Aphelios. Not quite on the power level of Lulu Aphelios, but Aphelios should be able to stack up, get strong in this game, and basically you're always going to have LeBlanc available. But what have they done here? They've actually decided to swap. They are getting Sion out of the matchup. All right, so yes, you've gotten Sion out of this matchup. However, you don't have LeBlanc in the middle of the map now. Now, we have seen Fudge play mid, and we've seen our very fair share of tanks being played in mid lane, being just immovable objects. We've seen Cassante get HP leads against Aries, something that you would never expect to have be the case. But now you end up with Gwen into LeBlanc, which is not even better. I don't know what they think they're getting out of it. Maybe like Sion, they're definitely putting a better situation for Sion. But now, how are you going to continue the game from here? Will be interesting to see. Alistar, a pick that we finally see. We do think that Alistar is in an incredibly strong position. He had the armor buffs for himself, making him the tankiest champion in the game by a lot at level 1. And back, if we will put a link in the description below, our patch notes, we saw that this is exactly what the setup that we want. Flash, Ignite, Glacial Augment with Hex Tech, Flash Traption, and you can just take it to your opponents at level 2. You can even do it at level 1 just by going Flash Pulverize. You have that big advantage going over them. You've got the Ignite to secure yourself potentially all-ins, and your base stats are just so incredible, right? You just have almost 100 more hit points than your enemies, and then you have in some cases double the armor, meaning that you actually almost have an effective 200 extra health relative to them in these fights. It means that Alistar can take as many trades as anyone can, and these all-ins are going to favor them for sure. So they flex in that side lane. Now let's check out what happened out in the top. LeBlanc showing aggression, but walking into Bin's damage. Now let's see, you've got the minions working, and look at that. You wait until the enemy aggresses into the middle of your wave, and as soon as they do, as soon as they catch the aggro from everybody, like, all right, time to turn. And you see Bin's like, ha, I got you. You thought you got me, I got you. Those miniature plays, right? That's the difference between winning and losing a lane. And here we go with the Alistar actually using the bait Hextech Flash Traption to just go backwards towards his teammates. Ends up being in a position against Lee Sin, who uses a ward hop to go forward, and they're going to try to move into this fight, but Ari's coming as well. The call might be that, hey, she's low on mana. She actually doesn't have full combo. She's only going to get one spell rotation off. Because we're here before the Jinx, we can actually take this fight, and Cloud9 actually pushing it to the limit. Absolutely love this. They're going to win it, and now Berserk with the E-Flash, Blapper with the E-Flash, able to secure this kill, and he's going to continue chasing because Conqueror Lee Sin is stronger than any AD carry in the entire game. Almost gives one back on the turret, and might even be in danger to one. Might not know that there's a ward here on his back. Jinx will be willing to go for this. Blabber, of course, reacting, but I actually wouldn't have minded Elk going in for an auto attack. Problem is that if you don't one-shot the Lee Sin, if he sniffs it out, he will self-shield, and then he will be able to kill you for sure. The thing that she might have realized is that he used both of his wards for ward hops, so he did not have a way to actually get onto her. If she just drops traps in between, there's no way that Lee Sin ever connects there. And perhaps not being confident in exactly which angles of vision are available here. So Berserker, I like this part, right? This mini little step towards the bottom to keep Elk one step away from his team was exceptional. Now Elk needs to be a little bit better to kite towards the left and not just towards his wave, meaning that he's late into this fight. It also means that his traps are left wanting. And Blabber flexing right here, saying, I can continue taking this. This is the strength of my champion. Conqueror Lee Sin will always be the strongest here. And getting the max for himself. And so for the first time, we see Cloud9 coming out to an early lead. Despite the negative trade that happened in top wave, we do see a deficit growing up here. And LeBlanc with Justin Hextech Alternator is going to sorely feel how badly this matchup will lose for her into the face of Leeching Lear. Once Gwen gets that, she will basically just be able to go toe-for-toe with LeBlanc. LeBlanc will have no choice but to just go for QR and dash out. The chains are never a reliable hit, as they do get blocked by the Gwen shield. And really, she can use that to take out whatever she wants, right? LeBlanc's only way of guaranteeing damage is going to be to W forward into QR and then get out. At which point you're also dealing with the extra resistances. But here we go. The other upside, right, of this swap was, as we talked about, Sion being the immovable object. He's just going to press this lane into Ahri's face. He's got the shield that can mitigate the damage that would be coming in from her. And you see him just kind of staying topped off, very healthy, using his mana to push wave. Ven is stepping up for this play, and they're calling it off. Berserker says, we're just going to leave you to die. We've been outspotted. I don't like how quickly he bailed on that. You have a full extra shield bar and you have red-white guns up. I would have liked Berserker to go for more. He might be saying, hey, there's 5 seconds left on flash. I just don't have it. But that seemed like a fairly quick exit from Berserker. And as we saw in the cameras after game 2, Berserker was visibly shaking. Wouldn't be the first time that a Cloud9 player has been spotted with this, and potentially something that the team can help give resources to their players to help them combat the amount of pressure and nerves that they might feel in these situations, right? You just got to take a deep breath, be real, be mindful, say, all right, I understand. I'm in a tough spot. I am overheated. I'm shaking. I'm nervous. Whatever it is that you're feeling. First, you have to be honest with yourself about what's going on. And then you take that deep breath. You try to resolve the stress. And then you can come out of it and say, all right, I'm back to my baseline. And only once you get back to your baseline can you get back up to that optimal performance level. If instead you spend time saying, I can play my way through it. You end up keeping yourself in this highly elevated level. And it has adverse effects on your body's ability to perform. So we have seen it from Berserker. We saw the flash, and since then he's just not been the same player. I think it even started before the flash. I think it started when he realized that he could have taken a step to the left to secure those kills around the Gromp that he missed out on last time. So anyways, hopefully Berserker can find that within himself. If you're playing with him, if you're a support, give him as many words of encouragement as possible, right? They can get through this. They're a great player. We saw last night in the Celtics game, Jason Tatum going, 1 for 18 or 1 for 17 to start the game. Finishes the game off with 4 3-pointers. You just got to remind yourself, hey, you are a great player. You are one of the best players in the world, in fact. You can do this. These positive affirmations can work wonders. They can absolutely bring you back from the precipice. But first, you just got to be real with yourself and realize that you are on the precipice, that you are anxious, nervous, whatever it is. This is the biggest game of your year. You've been working this far to get to this point. You haven't been playing your best. The best is yet to come, right? You can always say, I can play better. The best is still ahead of me. So, in the meantime, Billy has regained the lead for themselves. Multiple different times, Elk has aimed this ultimate at the front bush. We'll see if they're ever able to stop the back, whether or not they make an adaptation for stopping it. I would expect Berserker now next time to do this bush do the recall in the front edge of the front bush. But both times going to a spot that would not get canceled by Jinx Rocket. Very smart, good adaptation, knowing their play pattern. Now, we do have Riftmaker completed from Gwen, so expect them to create this as a point of strength. In fact, for the first time this tournament, we're seeing a top laner being rotated mid, saying, no, we've got Riftmaker, you've got Scion. I absolutely want to find this matchup. I do not want to brick my Ahri into it any longer. I want to stick Gwen to it, even though Gwen's been winning against LeBlanc as well. We picked it to be a Scion counter, so that is what we're going to use it for. And so now the dance will begin, right? Do we swap lanes? Do we not? We might expect to see push and swap, push and swap. If you're the team that is doing the pushing and the swapping, you will always have the advantage. Enemy team will be reacting. Therefore, they will be slightly late to waves, and they will be catching waves as opposed to pushing them. This is one of the effects of a smoke and mirrors strategy, that you can press into them, right? You can just consistently put pressure by pushing, disappearing off the map, push, disappear, and you put the onus on the enemy team of trying to figure out where you're going to be and create those catches. And so far, the win from Cloud9 from making the movement, right? You catch Billy a little bit late in, or I should say inefficient in their rotations, means that they're able to get the dragon for themselves. This is one of those cases where the dragon was not just emblematic of being ahead in the game, but just making a better macro play, right? You catch them mid-motion. Here we go. The engaged sign is going to go in. They do have the chunk damage. Expect the flay here to peel, and they're absolutely going to do it. Sven using all of his tools to keep them up. However, no ultimate, uses it a little bit late. I'm curious to see when and why that wasn't up earlier. Okay, look at this combination. Flamethrower into Root. Beautifully done. Blabber kicking them into Berserker. He says, don't worry, I got you, buddy. And Berserker 3-0 now for himself. We'll see. Is he well and truly back into this carrying state? Now, as we see in pro play, when you have the red and white guns, they're going to chew through the red one. All right, they're going to try to keep white one because white one is versatile. I'm sure that he has the green gun waiting for him on the backside. And he's more than happy to take fights with green and white in combination, right? And in that one, you see just absolutely explosively how good Aphelios can be. I hope they show it, but you have the Gravitum with less than 10 bullets. You've got the Flamethrower with less than 2 bullets. So you go Flamethrower, switch, Gravitum. You've got the AoE on everybody. You nail the Gravitum. Both those guns are gone immediately, and then you have your red and white spells. So Aphelios essentially creating 4 spells for himself to be able to execute that fight. And that is where the power lies in this champion. That is when he's completely broken, right? When you're able to make that play and communicate to your team, be like, all right, guys, it's time. It's time. It's sort of like a clock ticking. It takes a while to set it up for sure. It takes a lot more maneuvering than a Narbar. But when you do have that situation, you tell your team, all right, it's close. It's coming. It's here. I've got both my guns. I've got both my guns on less than 11 bullets, right? That's the magic number. 11 bullets on each of these guns. And at that point, if that happens, you keep it that way. You swap guns. You make sure that you can keep them both at 1 bullet if you need to be able to make that play, exactly that play. And if you can do it in late game team fights, then power to you. Now, one of the things you can do if you're playing against Aphelios is look for those windows. Constantly be counting his bullets. Have someone who's marking that champion, right? Someone who's looking exactly. And you want to see, all right, has he recently swapped guns? And if he has swapped guns, then now is our window. At least to take some amount of power out of the champion's kit. when he's able to get 3 or even 4 spells in a fight, that's when he becomes completely busted. Ooh, flashing in front to catch the charge. Now, do they spot? They do see Lee Sin. Lee Sin's exceptionally strong here. 203 with Gore Drinker and Conqueror. Means he's going to carry this fight. And look at how well Blabber's playing this fight, using the R against the wall. Knowing that he's got the R, he pinned to the wall, throws the Q at Wukong, and is able to continue this fight. And he is taking this game. Blabber just absolutely hard carrying this game. We saw it in between in the post-game lobby, well, not the lobby, but post-game going in, we just saw that look in Blabber's face, just extreme focus, showing why he is the best jungler that we've ever come out of this region and one of the best in the entire world. Putting the team on his back right now. Now, one thing that lingers with a player like this, it was good to hear him in the hype interview. They kind of gave the segments, what are you expecting to get out of this tournament? Well, last year, famously, Blabber tried to flash for Scuttle Crab, right? And he goes flash smite to steal Scuttle and then just died in the fight. Doesn't want to relive that moment and spoke very passionately about how he has to, how he wants to make up for that moment. But the way doing it, you carry it and the chip on your shoulder. You don't want to have it constantly there where you're saying, I need to do better. I need to make up for last time. You just use it as a tool to say, all right, I need to be focused. I don't need to be better than that. I just need to be the best version that I can be. I need to be as good as I can at all times. How can I achieve my top level of performance? And it really seems that he's unlocked it for this game, making all the plays so far. A little bit of a stutter right there, walking into the Alistar pulverized, but is able to juke around the fights. And you see him just dashing around. You've got the Thresh Lantern as well as an extra tool to help him get out. And Cloud9 saying we've gleaned enough of an advantage to go for this. But Billy has the HP. They know Fudge is at half health, which is about as good as they're ever going to get. However, he's going to be very happy to just keep this. Uses his ultimate to peel right there and Thresh to get him out. However, Gwen's piercing needles get through to everybody. Blabber correctly sensing that there's a time to get in. Berserker is way too far back. Opting to go for the wave. No, this is not the time to reset this play. There was missed damage. You do not want to get stuck going for this wave, because if that's the case, then you're going to be losing mid to the Herald and the Dragon. So they come back in. Alistar finding the angle, gets a flash QW engage, going to pick off multiple people, and that's what you had to be worried about, and that's what I didn't want to see. Any amount of wasted time from Berserker. Because he left and they were able to hold off that fight and get the engage that they wanted, now Gwen is actually well and truly going to get the entire inhibitor for herself, playing that to perfection on Bin. And Bin has been playing out of his mind this entire series. Kind of incredible to watch, just this level. And you saw it, right? He knew. He's there. I'm bringing 3-0. I'm coming and I'm going to play well enough to play for 3-0. So we see the engage right there, but it coincided with the other team going forward. You use Berserker, who uses Gale Force to get out of the fight. And right here, this is the last attack he gets off. You have to get more right there. No reason for you to be as far back, right? Why are you so far back? This is a mistake. You do not need to touch this wave. That misstep means that he's missing out 2 extra points of damage, and it does mean that when we come to this fight that they're not in a good enough position to step forward. Now this a little bit, they didn't show it, a little bit of a misposition to not have wards on your backside. If you're going to hover over the dragon pit like that, right, if you're going to be in this little corner, you have to make sure that you see what's happening behind you around this corner. They didn't. Alistar was able to punish that. The correct answer to going with Alistar back here would have been to actually fight your way through. Just go straight through them. Instead, they are able to, or they give Alistar the angle to find the perfect flank. And he gets it for himself. Now, what can Lee Sin do to possibly or potentially carry this game? You do have deaths now on the Lee Sin and the Aphelios. Aphelios has flashback, has Gale Force again, but does not quite have Ghost. I'd like to see Berserker tiptoe the limits of what is doable this game. We saw Blabber actually play that fight very, very well, seeing the windows, seeing chances to get the maximum damage in, get a full Gore Drinker off. Elk just backbreakingly stealing the red buff there. I'm curious. Gonna see this twice. Did he know? Yes. Oh, he knew that it was 1200. Oh, Blabber. Blabber, that execute would not have been 1200 damage. So it looks like he tried to panic and tried to get the burst damage in. Or maybe just thought it was time to continue dealing damage. Didn't know that the rocket was coming. But it looked like he was trying to react and say, I can kill this faster. Ends up feeding the red buff to the Jinx. And that is a huge boon for this champion who's going to stay topped off. Has a little bit more self-peel now, which is going to be crucial into this team composition of LeBlanc and Sion trying to find avenues to get onto, as well as Lee Sin. Now, something that Jinx can do, not quite as well as Caitlyn. Caitlyn is a hard counter to LeBlanc, but is kind of scuffed right now in patch value numbers, just getting that -2 AD treatment, which spells doom to AD carries and to every champion, right? When they want you out of the game, they take that -2, -3 AD. And just over the course of the game, think about how many times you attack. And it really does make a difference for how the game is going to shape out. But Jinx can survive into LeBlanc. Being as long range as she is, can get an auto attack off, can get traps down that prevent the LeBlanc from getting in on you all the way. And as we've seen, M&S has really never presented any kind of threat to the Jinx. And in fact, hasn't gotten enough in this game, hasn't gotten far enough ahead in any position at any time to ever present threat to anybody. They shackled her into this top wave to try to get Sion out of the Gwen matchup. And sure enough, Sion was fine into Ahri, but now you see that they are down 50 CS in the perspective combined solo lanes. And Lee Sin really only being the only point of strength between them. So they really cost themselves a lot by going into that lane state. I don't like the swap at all. Wouldn't have minded situations where you bring Sion mid, and then you just, move the AD carry around side to side. You move the LeBlanc, for example. You move LeBlanc and Thresh together. There are a lot of different iterations that could have gotten you into better situations than what they created for themselves. So here we go. Alistar not waiting. 2,400 health is the maximum, or is the magic number, I should say. When you get past 2,400 health, you can use those tools and say, all right, they are in burst range. Baron can be burst. We can just engage forward and take the rest of this fight. However, because he goes for the self-peel and there are not enough tools left, it does mean that C9 is able to take the first couple kills in this fight. LeBlanc reaching forward, but is taking tons of damage. The peel perfectly times that Wukong was not able to consolidate the kill on LeBlanc. Means that Elk is going to be by himself. Will get dove here and is moving around. Oh, the lingering vision from the traps being enough. Gets the trade for themselves. That is... All right, you would consider that a tremendous loss if you're Cloud9. You did not get the Baron. You did get it off the map, which is good. And you do have 3 champions coming onto the map first, which means you'll be able to get this third dragon for yourself. But check out this fight, right? We saw Yagao sort of overstepping here because Alistar with his ultimate is going... He's on a one-way mission, right? You don't need to get anything else if you're Alistar. But because they end up going 3 people over the pit, Yagao gets caught out of position. And then, here we might call this the mistake. Fudge stepping this far up before his team is ready. Blabber paying slightly cautiously. If he realized exactly the timetable that the team was going to be on, might have used his W. Gore Drinker may have been up as well at that point. Lingering vision. Just so well played by Elk here. Now, Felios actually making himself a mistake there by stepping to the side actually costs himself the travel time. If you'll believe that trade was cost by the travel time difference in the attacks. And the fact that it took that much longer meant that Jinx was able to get her next one off. And that's the difference. But going back to live, you see that they were actually able to pick off Bin on Gwen. The first big misstep by Bin in the tournament. And now they're going to be in a tough position, right? Sion's pushing up. There's no Gwen to match it. No one on this team can actually match Sion. All you would normally ask is that Ahri or Jinx go pick up this wave. But they were down bottom trying to press up, and instead they're not going to be able to do anything for themselves. Jinx is going to collect red buff. Sion is going to recall. The wave is going to be lost to the turret. And Yagao ends up coming back to pick up the second wave that's there. Now, it is worth noting, 25 minutes into the game, not the end of the world to miss a wave. All right. Beginning of the game, yes, it's tremendous, right? The amount of experience and gold matters less as the game goes on, right? As you go on, 100 golden experience, 200 golden experience with the cannon waves, which are now going to come in every wave now that we're past 25 minutes. 200 golden experience, it's not that relevant when you're at thousands of gold and experience, right? Early game, yes, that matters tremendously. That's 90% of a level when you get that. And that level advantage can become a stat advantage that is, again, 73 damage versus 66 damage makes a tremendous difference. I should say 73 versus like 69. A lot of champions have a AD scaling like 4, right? The difference between having 4 more damage in a trade where you're hitting each other 15 times is tremendous, right? In the end of the game, not nearly as much. As this game goes, never go into a situation saying, I have to catch this wave. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is moving themselves into a visibly poor position, right? You go off into the side lane, say, I'm going to go collect this wave. If anything is at threat of happening while you're gone, you are completely out of position for your team. And if you can imagine the gold difference of you collecting your 200 gold in experience versus actually being at the fight with 17,000, there's a pretty stark contrast. These teams do it very rarely. You did see a bin getting caught out, reaching a little bit too far for that mid wave, trying to get it out early, not realizing how much the threat was there. And we'll see if Cloud9 can create more situations like that for themselves. It looks like they are playing with very defensive vision in the eastern quadrant, which makes sense with the dragon coming up, but probably they're going to let this vision linger and die as they start moving vision over to the other side. Well, now, what they may say is, hey, there's only 40 seconds difference between dragon and baron. We can probably set up catch and pick vision on the eastern side of the map and use this as a way to play for mid. Never really have to fully defend Baron. Just have one ward that can see rotations to there to have an eye whether or not they're actually going to be starting it. And then saying, hey, we've got all this vision secured on the eastern side so that we can control the fight when it does inevitably come to Dragon. So you can see this call from Cloud9. 6 wards, 2 control wards, all being used on the 70th, 80th, and 90th percentile of the right side of the map, right? Just the extreme right half of the map, that last quarter of the right side of the map, entirely belonging to them. However, nothing around Baron and nothing in the south quadrant. So these are very, very defensive wards. I don't like where Sven has placed them at all, actually. Needs to improve. This is basically the most shallow version of things. He ends up coming into the northern quadrant and undoes all the momentum that he created for himself on the bot side. And this is where I can't help but to imagine that lack of experience in the role might be making a difference. Right? Lanes, you're going to play well. You're going to be mechanically sound. You're going to be a strong player. But what does the shape of a fight and vision look like as a support player? And Cloud9 just feels kind of lost. This past minute has not been played well. Blabber ends up paying the price. They basically have no vision of any import on the map. They had vision on the eastern quadrant that is now gone as they moved it to the north. The control wards, the sheer number of wards that were placed that have had no effect is actually staggering. Now, as just the same as before, we were talking about, how gold devalues. Yes, it's fine. You can burn through control wards in the end game. Not really caring about the price tag or the experience. It's much more important to have that amount of vision that you can get. And they're going to infer everything that they can get in this Baron. Now look at this. MNS actually taking fight, but dealing extra damage to the Baron in the attempt to fight Bin. It's not lethal. which means it's not enough. I would have liked to see much more from that team there. They've got red and blue guns, or red and white guns, I should say. No, that's not white, blue. Red and blue gun from Aphelios. They could have ripped into them with AoE damage. But the call is, hey, Blabber's coming back. We can come straight to Dragon and take this for ourselves. This time, not panicking, letting the Jinx go in. And he pops himself over the back into the waiting arms of Alistar. Misses the Q, kind of, I don't know, flagrantly thrown. Ends up using Q to get over to the wave. A little bit of healing off the wave. And he's going to stay alive as long as possible. Now, team C9, push, 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 push. Somewhere else on the map, you need to get this wave in. Make sure that there's as little pressure as possible. You need to get these waves dead so that they are not being threatened into your base now that you're down a Lee Sin, down a support, and down a Baron buff. So M&S dutifully pushing out mid. Unfortunately for them, the middle outer turret is still up, meaning that this wave will die very quickly and get very little done. It also means that BLG will be able to continue the push in bot wave with numbers. Now, they don't have Gwen's teleport, so they may say that they just want this inner turret, and then they should back off. Anything extra would be egregious, and that is the call. They just take the wave. They take that gold, that hefty bounty of gold that you get from inner turrets, and they reset on the map now with a tremendous gold lead for themselves. Dragon number 3 in tow for Cloud9, but they're down 8,000 gold. And again, same curve as last time. A little bit of a dip at 21 minutes, just like both games. Losing some momentum, and then just charging forward. So is it BLG doing something right at 25 minutes, or is it Cloud9 doing something wrong? In this game, I'll definitely say it's on Sven. Though that warding map needs to improve. It feels like he's just guessing and putting vision down wherever. And yes, I'm totally fine with you burning control wards, but it needs to be to some sort of effect. Now, Bin again being caught out means that this is going to be the end of the Baron play. Not any particular like outstanding play that they made for themselves, except potentially this ward that was placed behind Gwen, but that was just I believe that was just Lee Sin to jump over the wall. I have to look at the replay, see when that came out. But for the second time in a short span of Bin being caught out, being caught by this team, using Chain CC, you've got melee champions that can get into melee range in the form of LeBlanc and Sion, even Thresh. Of course, if no one does get on you to start, right, if there's no decimating smash, if there's no Lee Sin kicking you, then you can use the ghost form to deny LeBlanc chains, to deny Thresh hooks, things like this. Now, Fudge being caught up equally far away from all of his vision as well. This is way out of position, but what is the trade going to be? Sven might try to go for a lantern play. He flashes for it, but they get the wards down. Oh my gosh, look at those 3 wards all being put down. Sion will fight for the wave here, but they do kill him. Now, the trade will be in the bot side. That's an instance, by the way, where you have to click flash. If you click flash, you get that play. But because he flash clicked, the 3 wards came down. That same button press. You pressed flash, they pressed trinket. At the same time, you are no longer able to click on the button. If you right click on the lantern first while they're placing their wards, then you flash, you will auto acquire that right click, and you will grab the lantern on a 0.0 delay. And you would have gotten it out. Something that we expect these pros to get in 9 out of 10 situations, if not 10 out of what? Bin. Why did you just end? Oh, he got kicked. Never mind. He got kicked. I thought it looked like the dash, but it was a Lee Sin kick. Beautifully done. But, you practice your own mechanics, right? You practice on your own champions. Sometimes it's not immediately apparent that you can click on a lantern by Thresh and then flash to it to auto-acquire. Now, Blabber, can he make a heroic play? Tries to dive in and use Gore Drinker, using the Guardian Angel now to try to keep himself alive, going for the proc. Never ends up getting the Gore Drinker off. Just gets peeled. Alistar using the headbutt to keep Sven away. And Billy, just such heads up team fighting there. So good in small, tight spaces and fast avenues. They get the kills for themselves. Bin, despite some aggressive plays at the end, the team was just too far ahead. And Billy, they've earned themselves this 3-0. All business, absolutely dominating. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps the channel out a lot. I'll catch you guys next time. Keep it surreal. Peace.